Hello brothers and sisters, good morning to everybody. Today we're going to talk about the way to happiness. And of course everybody in the world wants to be happy, and people wanted to be happy hundreds of years ago and will want to be happy in the future, and this is regardless of race, religion or ethnicity. So it's a very important topic, and we have to find the way to make this world, which is currently not very happy, to become a much happier place. So it's important for us to realize as human beings we live in one universe and it is one reality. And there are many different religions, as we can see up on the screen. We can talk about the Hindu tradition and Brahmanism. Brahma is the supreme deity there. We can talk about Islam, and Allah is the supreme deity in Islam. And we can talk about Christianity, and of course in Christianity people talk about God. In Sikhism there's Nam. Ahura Mazda is the name for the God or for God in Zoroastrianism. Yahweh is in the Jewish tradition. Kami means God in Japanese, and Tao means God or the great ultimate in Far Eastern philosophy. And Great Spirit is the name for God in the American Indian tradition. So of course it's important to realize we're not talking about different gods here. There is only one God, but there are many names for that one God. We live in one universe, and the spiritual laws of the universe and the physical laws of the universe are precisely the same for everybody, whatever your religion. And this is borne out by the fact that in the different religions we can see commonality. All religions teach us to be kind, generous, loving, look after strangers and take care of our neighbours. No religions teach us to be self-centred and live entirely for ourselves. So this shows there is a common reality behind everything, which we call God in the West here, or you might call Kami or the Great Spirit, or whatever you want to say, but it means we recognise that we're all governed by one set of laws and one set of principles in this universe. If you look at the human body, you can see throughout the world and in history, the human body was always the same. Everybody's blood is red and the skeletal structures are all the same. And if you have an operation to cure a problem within the body, the procedures are exactly the same irrespective of your religion. So the physical world has common reality or common principles, and therefore the invisible spiritual realm or the spiritual world also has common laws and common principles, and these apply to all of us irrespective of race, religion or ethnicity, as I've said. And even people who deny God, the same laws apply to them whether they know it or not. So it's very interesting to think about that. So we do come from one universe, one God and one reality and one set of spiritual laws. So if we look around us in the world, we can see that everything grows and develops from a small entity, a seed, and it develops over time and grows, reaches fruition and fulfills its purpose. This is true for plants, animals, and also as human beings we also have to grow. We go through a process of growth. We start life in the womb within our mother, and then we come from the womb and we grow physically over time. And this takes around about 21 years, 18 or 21 years to reach physical maturity. And this is an autonomous process. This is the important thing to understand. We eat, we drink, we breathe, and everything happens autonomously or automatically. So it is a wonderful process, and we don't have to exert our conscious will in any way for that to happen. But physical life should not be negated. It's very, very important. Sometimes in history, religions have tended to deny the physical life as being unimportant and focus entirely on spiritual matters, and even to misuse the physical body. But the physical life is very, very important because it's our opportunity to develop and to grow. And the growth of heart, or the growth of our ability to love, is the most important aspect of our growth, the inner growth. There's our physical growth, which is autonomous. Then there's the inner growth that is very, very important. So we need a physical body and a physical life in order to grow in our sensitivity to God, in order to develop our appreciation of people and this wonderful world we live in. And importantly, we need a physical body to develop our capacity to give and receive true love. So physical life should not be negated. We should take care of it and look after it. But we have to recognize that physical life is not everything. It's just our outer self, if you like. All religions recognize that we have an inner self, a spirit or a soul, and that is also here. We have that inner life, and we have to develop and grow in heart. And the most important thing we have to learn is to grow in our ability to love. So we start out in a formative stage, and our ability to love is very limited. A baby is aware of its own needs, and it will demand that those needs be met. If the baby's hungry and it's the middle of the night, and even if mum is completely exhausted and dog-tired, the baby will still scream because it's not really aware of its mother's situation. But we grow steadily, and we come to recognize that others have needs. We go into a growth level, and we develop mutual love. This is the ability to give and receive love. So I remember myself, the first time my daughter ever made me a cup of tea, it was a wonderful moment. She was able to give something back. She said, "Daddy, I've made you some tea." And I looked at it, and it was a sort of very white, grey colour, and it seemed to have about half a cup of sugar in there. And it wasn't very attractive to look at, but I said, "Thank you very much, my dear. That's very kind of you to make that." So she was trying to give something back. So this is what happens. We learn, and as parents we always remember the first time our children brought home a picture from school and showed us the picture they'd drawn at school with pride and happiness, and then giving it to the parents because they want to give something back. We learn that others have needs and we want to give. And then we keep growing, and finally we get married, and then spiritually we change tremendously, and we learn about parental love. And this is the love that gives and forgets. As parents, we invest absolutely for our children, and we do this because that's the nature of parental love, to give and forget. So inwardly, through this development of heart and development of love, our spirit changes. Our spirit self is growing from being a formed spirit, then we become a live spirit. Our spirit is developing along with the physical body, and finally we become a divine spirit, and that means a spirit that's able to give and receive love in all its fullness. So it's a tremendous process, and it's very, very important. So there's physical growth, which is autonomous, and then there's the growth of the spirit, where ultimately we have to use our free will, and we have to make a conscious input in this process. So as we've said already, this is about the development of our awareness of others and others' needs, and our conscience develops over time. We're able to discern what's right and wrong much more clearly and much more sharply. And most of all, as we've already said, it's the development of our ability to give and receive love. And our awareness of God grows over time as well. This is very, very important, because ultimately human beings are meant to become the temple and the dwelling place of God. So if we can do these things, we will be happy. If we can fulfill our spiritual growth along with our physical growth, happiness will be the result. But of course, in our world, people tend to focus on physical growth and value of the physical world and physical things, and oftentimes people, they may grow up, but actually they're very immature, and they enter into relationships with a self-centered perspective, and oftentimes there are tremendous struggles and contradictions, and even people end up hurting one another tremendously or hating one another because they're not really spiritually mature. So this diagram shows the relationship between the physical self and the spiritual self, and it's very, very important to understand that as well as the physical self that we can see with our physical eyes, there is this inner self. We have a spirit body as well. All the scriptures of the world affirm this, and this part of us is also growing. So we can always liken the physical self or the physical body to the soil, and the spirit's like a seed that's placed in the body to grow. And so through our physical life, we're generating energy which goes into the spirit self and helps it to take proper form and proper shape. As we see in the Bible, it tells us if there is a physical body, there's also a spiritual body. So through our actions then, we can generate vitality elements, as we see in the diagram at the top there, from the physical body, which go into the spirit and cause the spirit to take proper form. So for that, we need to have a good, healthy physical body, nurtured with food and water and receiving good fresh air and good sunlight in our daily existence. And our spirit needs not physical things but spiritual things. So we need love, which is in essence a spiritual quality, and we also need truth. We need God's love and truth, and if we receive those and practice them, we can grow, and we can generate spirit elements as well, which go back into the physical body and cause the physical body to be more healthy and stronger. So there's this relationship between the two aspects of ourself that never stops until we reach spirit maturity and we pass out from this world to the next world. So very, very important. So our spiritual state is dependent upon ourselves, because humans have complete free will, and by our actions, if they're good actions, if we follow the truth we know to be true, or follow our conscience, and we seek to live a life of service and love and care for others, we generate this powerful vitality element which goes into our spirit, and we become a good person spiritually. It's not to do with whether we're handsome or not so handsome, it's to do with our inner state. This is really determines our value. So this is our human responsibility, to know the truth, practice truth, and fulfill it in our daily life. We can also fail in that, and we can do evil actions. People do. Some people have lived very self-centered and evil lives. They've hurt others, they've trampled on others' rights and dignity, and they've generated into their own spirit evil vitality elements, and they've become an evil person. So what we become in our physical existence is dependent on us. The state of our spirit is dependent on us seeking the truth, and then having found it, to practice it. As it says in the Bible, the truth will set you free. So knowing truth means we practice it, And this is a quest for human beings. We've always sought to know what is true. Why am I here? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What is right? What is wrong? What is ethical? What is unethical? What is moral? What is immoral? Those things have always been a key concern. Animals don't have that concern. You never hear a couple of horses in the field debating about the purpose and meaning of life or what's right and wrong. They don't have to do that because they're autonomous, instinctual creatures. They follow the laws automatically. But humans are different. We have to fulfill our own part for very good reason. So perfection means that we reach maturity. Physically we reach maturity, so you can say there's physical maturity, but also the spiritual maturity. That's very, very important, to fully perfect our inner self through the practice of love. And then we achieve our full potential as a human being, and we fulfill our purpose as a human being. So this inner self is very, very important. We can't just focus on physical things and hope to be happy. Happiness comes from this inner growth and inner satisfaction of knowing that we've lived a life of integrity, honour, honesty, and a life of service and love and concern for others. So God is an eternal being, the creator of the universe, and God is the eternal parent of true love. So human beings, as the children of God, must also be eternal, because we seek as human beings eternal love. When people marry, that if you say to your wife or your spouse, your husband, well, I will love you maybe for a month, and then we'll have a review of the situation and see if I still love you, people would be very unhappy. People usually pledge eternal love. I will love you forever. This is what we say. This is how we live. This is a reflection of God's nature. God is the eternal parent of unchanging love. So the object of God's heart, or the people that reflect God's nature most fully, are human beings. We have this capacity to be the highest being, the truest being, or children of God, as the scriptures tell us. Therefore, in order to fulfill love eternally, we seek for eternal love. God also seeks for eternal love. God wants love to be forever, because for God, love is the most precious thing too. So as human beings, we exist in both worlds. We exist in the physical world, and we also exist in the spiritual world. We are eternal spiritual beings, and as such we are a microcosm of the whole universe. All the elements of the physical universe and the spiritual universe are condensed in human beings, and we're like a micro universe, and we are supposed to rule these two worlds. But the key point is we're supposed to reach maturity and rule the two worlds with love. Everything responds to love. Animals respond to love, plants respond to love, and even inorganic materials respond to love in some way, even though we may not be aware of that. So we're supposed to mediate between the two worlds and link the two worlds, the invisible and the spiritual world, together as one world, as one cosmos or one universe, governed by love. So this is also a key point we need to look at, the purpose of our life. It's a question we all ask at some point. Why am I here? Why do I exist? Where do I come from? Where am I going? If we said to somebody, well, your purpose is to eat and drink, procreate the species and die, it wouldn't really be very inspiring. So we seek for something much deeper and greater than that. So this purpose is very important for us to understand. As human beings, we need to know our purpose. So we have to understand that purpose is determined by the creator, not the created being. So everything does have a purpose. All the things in existence, all the living entities, they have purpose, and that purpose is very, very important. And everything is interrelated, and everything is part of the whole. So everything is contributing to the maintenance and purpose of the universe. So if we can fulfill our purpose as human beings, then we can fulfill our value. So key point here, the purpose for human beings is not determined by human beings. Just as this phone, it can't say, well, I don't want to be a phone anymore. I think I want to be a table, or I want to be a motor car. It can't do that because its purpose is already predetermined by the creator. So it's the same for us. Our purpose is already predetermined by God. We can't have a conference and get all the learned persons on earth to meet together and debate for a month or so and then decide what is the suitable purpose for human beings. It doesn't work that way. The purpose of any created being is determined by the creator. And in our case, the supreme being, God, Brahma, Allah, is the one that decided or created us with a purpose which we can't actually change. So there are two aspects of purpose. Our body's purpose is to fulfill its instinctual desires or benefit myself, which is perfectly fine. But we can't be ruled just by instinctual desires, because the body will just follow its own self-centered perspective. It doesn't have a higher perspective. But we also have a mind which is internal, or a spirit, and that mind is always thinking of the higher purpose and can be aware of the needs of God, or aware of the needs of others, aware of the purpose of the whole world, harmony and peace for all mankind. So we have to follow the mind's desires, and the body should follow the mind, not the other way round. The mind should not follow the body, because if we just follow the body's desires, we end up being a self-centered person, and many people do, unfortunately. And we live in a world where there is a great deal of selfishness, people using others for their own benefit. So in essence, God created in order to manifest love. This is very, very important. So just as we human beings, our essential nature, the most important thing for us is to love and be loved. That nature comes from God, and we cannot find love by ourselves. We can't just stand in front of the mirror in the morning and say, I'm so lovely, I'm so wonderful, I love me, and stay there all day admiring ourselves. It would be very, very boring, and we would get very disappointed with that. So we always need someone to love, and that means someone who's capable of reciprocating our feelings. If you sit down next to somebody and you think, well, maybe with this person I can find true love, and you pour out your heart, your emotion, your feeling to that person, and they look at you blankly like you're a complete fool, an idiot, and they can't comprehend you in any way, it means love cannot flow. There cannot be any reciprocation of love, and it wouldn't work. So we have to find someone whom we can meet on the internal heart-to-heart basis, and they can appreciate us, our heart, our feeling, our emotion. So this is the same for God. Even though God's almighty, absolute, all-powerful, all the things we say about God, God also doesn't want to be alone, and God cannot find true love alone. He needs a partner of love for love to flow and love to reciprocate, and that partner is actually human beings. We're the highest, the best, and potentially the most noble beings that exist. We have the capacity to respond to God in love, And that's what God wanted from us, and that's why God created human beings with free will, because if you take away free will, there can't be true love. So God gave us free will so we can grow spiritually and come to appreciate God and feel the feelings that God feels as a human being. So human beings have this enormous potential. Most people don't realize this. Some people do. They in the Eastern religions, they talk about self-realization or God consciousness. And this oneness of heart with God is something that all the saints of history have taught, irrespective of their religion. So if we can do that, find this oneness with God's heart, oneness with God's joy, and oneness with God's beauty, true love between God and man can flow. And that's why God created, for the purpose of love. The universe is meant to flow because of love, move because of love, and manifest complete joy through love and through loving and being loved. This is very, very important. So that's why God created, in essence, to manifest love. And we're part of that wonderful process. And we know that human beings, we are the image of God. So if you look in the mirror again in the morning, you'll see your image. It's an exact likeness. So human beings are meant to be exactly like God, and a visible manifestation of the invisible God. God doesn't have a body. God doesn't have a singular separate form, but God is spirit. But God can dwell fully in the human heart if humans cultivate their spiritual life properly and correctly. We have this wonderful capacity to be the most noble and the most wonderful beings that exist. So very important then. Human beings participate in the creation of their own character through their experience and effort. So God gave us free will, and God never takes our free will away. We are free, and we have to learn to love freely, in freedom. You can't insist to anyone, you must love me, and if you don't, I'll punish you. That's not love at all. Love has to be given freely and received freely. So we have this possibility, and we have this possibility to perfect our character through the practice of love. It's a wonderful, fantastic privilege. To be a human is a great privilege. And in the Bible it talks about the first blessing. The first blessing that God gave to man was to be fruitful or to reach maturity. And there our personality would be fully developed. Our mind, our intellect, emotion and will, all invisible spiritual things would be properly developed. Our body would be properly developed through nutrition. We should respect and love our body because it's the temple of the soul, and the temple of God, potentially. Do you not know you're God's temple and God's Spirit dwells in you? We read in the Bible. So this first blessing means the perfection of the individual. That's where we start. We can't go to a higher stage until we become a true individual. That's the first step. We're born as individual men, individual women, and our first step is to grow and perfect ourselves as individual men and individual women through the practice of love, the practice of truth, taking care of the body, respecting the body as a holy body, and respecting our mind as the place where God will come and dwell. So true love is the key to everything. Practice of love. To become the ideal person, as we've said already, to become the dwelling place of God's Spirit. And our capacity to give and receive love is perfected. And this is where our actions and our conscience are fully compatible, fully aligned, and we completely live in harmony between the mind and the body. And then after fulfilling this first step, becoming an ideal man or an ideal woman, A woman represents the femininity of God, because God is both a masculine and feminine being. Doesn't mean God is two beings. God is one, but within the oneness of God there is perfectly harmonized masculinity and femininity. So a woman represents one aspect of God, the feminine aspect, and a man, a perfect man or a true woman, we represent different polarities of God. The ideal man, and then from that stage of being ideal individuals, fully mature, we can be blessed in marriage by God, through God's spirit of love, and we can create this true husband and true wife. This is what people dream about as well. When people start to think about being married, they're not thinking about fighting with their wife or their husband or having tremendous arguments. They're thinking about harmony. They're thinking about peace. They're thinking about happiness. They're thinking about oneness. They're thinking about eternal love. And this is because that's how it actually should be. That's really what God really wanted. We live in a fractured world where relationships are very fractured because we never reached this inner spiritual maturity where we could fulfill the ideal. But that's what God really wanted. True individuals, that's the first blessing, first step. And the second blessing is where we can create the true couple, and from that comes the true family. All children want to be raised in an atmosphere of love, and they want to love their parents, which they normally do, and they treat their parents with the utmost respect if they receive this constant, unconditional parental love. So, fulfilling the second blessing, or the second step to happiness and peace, we learn about all the different aspects of love in the family. We learn about parental love as husband and wife, and then that's conjugal love. Then we learn about parental love when we have children, this unconditional giving. You just give absolutely for the sake of your children. You never keep a tally of how much you spent, and when they get to be 21 you say, look here Johnny, here's the bill, this is what I've spent on you since you were born, you can start paying me back now. Parents never do that. They give absolutely unconditionally, and they always wish to give more. I wish I could give more for my children and help them more. And this never changes. Even when your children get old, you still have this parental love to give, to serve and take care of your children. So in the family, all of these things happen. We learn about filial love, or loyalty to parents, and we learn about love for the greater world. If we learn about love from our parents, if we learn how to be true brothers and sisters and practice true children's love, we can create a truly good world. This would be the ultimate fulfillment of what must happen in the human family, or what should happen. So the family is very, very important. It is the school of love. It's the place where we learn to love, where we practice all the different aspects of love: conjugal love, parental love, children's love, brothers and sisters love. Everything is there in the family. You can't learn it anywhere else. You can't learn the lessons of love outside of the family. So family should be nurtured and cared for, and the family is the basic unit of the ideal world. And here's a picture of a very nice family here. Parents and the child happily engaged together. This is what we all dream of and hope for and pray for. Sadly, in our world, sometimes children are misused and hurt, and they grow up very distorted, or their spirit can't grow properly, and they've been damaged because their parents may have neglected them or hurt them in many ways. So there are many tragic situations because people have never really grown up spiritually. So we have to remember always that true love is eternal. We should never change our love. It is eternal. God's love for humans is eternal. God never changes his love. and it's unconditional. It's not a monetary affair, it's not a limited affair. True love gives absolutely and never stops giving. And this is how God is with human beings. He never stops giving, never stops serving, and never stops loving us. So we have to learn about this type of love in order to make a happy world. In order to make a peaceful world, people have to grow up a lot more and stop thinking in limited, self-centered or nationalistic terms. So we have to understand that. We've talked about it already. God's love is expressed and experienced through the ideal family. All the ideal relationships are found in the ideal family. So this is what we have to aspire to and work towards wherever we are in our life, wherever our stage of development is. We have to aspire for the highest and the best, which isn't necessarily beyond the world, it's within the world until we pass on. Also, there's a third level of blessing that God talks about in Genesis. Be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. So if we're an ideal person of love, we can relate to everything with love, and we can take proper care of the world. As I've said already, the whole creation is responsive to love. Everything needs to be loved, so we should take proper care of the ecosystem. We shouldn't be creating mass pollution and enormous problems. We shouldn't be just tearing down the forest to make profit by selling the lumber and creating tremendous problems for the world. The forests are the world's lungs, as we know. So everything should be taken care of with love, and this would be the proper relationship between human beings and the world around it, where we know that this ecosystem, this world we live in, is a very, very precious gift from above, and we should take care of it with love and not just exploit it with self-centeredness, as which people have done, creating all sorts of pollution and industrial problems that we have, or even a place like Chernobyl in Ukraine, where they had the atomic disaster where the nuclear power plant blew up. They still have tremendous radiation problems there. So we shouldn't be doing this type of thing. We should be creating harmony and peace. And we have the capacity to do that. So in the ideal world, there's no contradiction between our mind and body. And there's no contradiction between man and creation. Man would be the highest being of love, caring for, valuing and enhancing the created world for generations, the future generations, the generations to come. So the world should be a world that's developed properly and cared for properly. We have the right to do that, but we haven't yet done it. We've not created the true world or the true environment yet, because we haven't loved truly. There's an interesting quote from the Bible, Romans 8, verse 19. The creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God. So, as I've said already, the creation is sensitive to love. Everything is sensitive to love. If you have a dog, you know that, or a pet parrot, you know they're sensitive to your moods and how you're feeling. Everything, without exception, needs to be loved, and it exists for love. The whole creation, as St. Paul was saying there. And then ultimately, we should live in harmony, in peace, and we should be able to trust one another, trust other human beings. Oftentimes we don't. We find a tremendous distrust, and this is because we've never really attained this state of true love. So our goal is to obtain individual perfection, God consciousness, we can say, and to experience joy with God through true love. This is our central purpose, whether we be man or woman. And then finally, the final step, or you could call it the final blessing really, is we learn all these aspects of love on earth, and then we transition into the spirit world. There are sort of 4 steps in love. I've written them there. Filial love, love as children; mutual love, brothers and sisters; conjugal love; as husband and wife, and then this ultimate giving, serving, unconditional love, parental love, which is the same love that God has. And then, for having fulfilled this on earth, we transition to this spiritual dimension, or the spirit world, or the heavenly world, or paradise, or whatever you want to call it. So, having completed the 4 steps of love in the physical world, we enter the spirit world, and we enjoy eternal life within the relationships of love we have created on earth. And our spiritual environment will manifest this love as substantial reality around us. So when we die, the only thing we can take with us is the love we've loved with and the relationships of love that we've created on earth. We can't take any money. Money is utterly useless in the spirit world. Material things are utterly useless. But when we get there, we will remain in love with God and with the people that we've loved on earth. And our spiritual environment will manifest this love, so we can be in a very beautiful spiritual world, full of joy, full of happiness, that's light, bright, trees, buildings, everything which is a manifestation of the true love of God. So that's the final step. On earth, it's just a preparation for the transition to the spirit world. So death is just a gateway. It's just like taking off your overcoat and leaving this world behind and flying into the next dimension to live a life of true love eternally, which is what humans have always dreamed and dreamt about. So that's it. The path to happiness is to grow as an individual first, and then to create the good family, a good family of love, and have a true relationship with the creation or the physical world, to grow spiritually, and then finally we transition into the next world, the spiritual world, or the heavenly world, or paradise. Religions have different names for this place, but everybody wants to go there, and there we can enjoy eternal life and eternal happiness with God and with the people we love. So thank you very much. That's the end of today's presentation. God bless you all.